The wind on the ferry deck carried the sharp scent of salt and sunlight, and the sky above was impossibly wide, a blue so clear it looked like it could forgive anything. People passed by with coffee cups and cameras, unaware that a single request was about to bend two lives toward each other. It came from a girl in a wheelchair, small against the railing, her eyes lifted not in complaint but in wonder, asking to be raised high enough to see the sky the way everyone else did. In that instant, the CEO who had built empires with contracts and cold decisions felt something inside him crack open, because the simplest wish had landed heavier than any boardroom demand he had ever faced. If you believe in kindness and second chances, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel Midnight Tales, because stories like this live on through hearts that choose to care. The ferry moved steadily across the water in the bright afternoon, sunlight glittering like scattered coins. Armin Kader stood near the railing, jacket slung over his arm, eyes fixed on the horizon as if it could answer questions he never dared to ask out loud. As the founder of a global logistics firm, his days were stitched together by meetings, numbers, and expectations. Success had arrived early and loudly, but it had also hollowed him out in quiet ways. This trip was meant to be an escape, a rare afternoon without assistants or investors, a chance to breathe. Yet even here, his thoughts churned with the familiar weight of responsibility and regret, especially the memory of a younger brother whose laughter had once filled his life and whose absence now echoed in every success Armin achieved alone. Near the center of the deck sat Mira Halvorsen, her wheelchair angled toward the open sea. The day wrapped around her like a promise she had learned not to trust too much. At 16, she carried more courage than most adults, shaped by years of hospitals, therapy rooms, and well-meaning pity. Her legs no longer obeyed her, but her eyes refused to dim. She loved the sky because it was the one place no one could take from her. It stretched above limitations, above stairs without ramps, above whispers and stares. On the ferry, surrounded by moving feet and careless joy, she felt the familiar mix of belonging and exclusion. She could see the sky, yes, but not fully, not without craning her neck until it ached. Armin noticed her because stillness stands out in a world rushing forward. He saw the way her hands rested calmly on her lap, the way her gaze climbed upward with quiet longing. When she made her request, it was not loud, not demanding, but it carried a sincerity that cut through the noise of the deck. She wanted to be lifted, just for a moment, to see the sky without the railing slicing it in half. Armin hesitated, not because he didn't want to help, but because he realized how rarely anyone had asked him for something so human. He had been asked to invest, to acquire, to save companies, but never to simply raise someone so they could feel equal to the horizon. As he gently lifted her, the ferry continued its smooth passage, the sun warming their faces. Myra's world expanded in an instant. The sky no longer felt distant or framed by metal bars. It wrapped around her, endless and bright, and something inside her chest loosened. She laughed, a sound light enough to match the day, and Armin felt his own breath hitch. In holding her, he was confronted by the truth he had spent years avoiding, that strength was not measured by how much one carried alone, but by how willingly one showed up for others. The moment passed, as moments always do, but its impact lingered. Armin set her down carefully, aware that something irreversible had shifted. He learned that Mira was traveling with a school group, celebrating a rare outing made possible by months of fundraising. She dreamed of studying astronomy, of understanding the stars she loved from a distance. Her challenges were many, from inaccessible buildings to the quiet cruelty of being underestimated, but she spoke of them without bitterness. Listening to her, Armin felt the walls around his heart soften. He saw his brother in her resilience, remembered promises he never got to keep, and realized that perhaps this meeting was not an accident, but an invitation. As the ferry approached its destination, the deck buzzed with anticipation, yet Armin felt strangely calm. He knew that returning to his old life unchanged was no longer an option. The sky Mira had wanted to see so badly now felt like a mirror, reflecting the choices he still had time to make. He thought about the company he ran, the resources at his disposal, and the countless people whose lives brushed against his decisions without his noticing. For the first time in years, the future did not feel like a burden but like an open question. In the days that followed, Armin kept his promise to himself. He funded accessibility programs, not as charity, but as responsibility. He partnered with organizations that amplified voices like Myra's, ensuring that buildings, schools, and opportunities were designed with dignity in mind. He visited her school, watched her point out constellations with a confidence that lit up the room, and understood that leadership could look like listening, like lifting someone up so they could see what others took for granted. Myra's life did not transform into a fairy tale overnight. She still faced obstacles, moments of frustration, and days when the sky felt far away again. But she carried with her the memory of that afternoon, the proof that someone had seen her not as a problem to solve, but as a person worth meeting at eye level. That knowledge became a quiet strength, guiding her through challenges with renewed determination. As the sun dipped lower on another ordinary day, Armand stood by his office window, watching the light shift across the city. He no longer measured success solely by growth charts or headlines. He measured it by moments, by the way a simple act on a ferry deck had rewritten his understanding of purpose. The sky outside was wide and patient, waiting for those willing to look up. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the power hidden in small acts of kindness, please engage with this video by liking, sharing, and letting us know your thoughts, because your support helps stories like this reach those who need them most. Before you leave, take a second to comment what the sky means to you, or share a moment when someone lifted you up, even briefly, and changed the way you saw the world.